Hello, if you can hear me, say hi and tell us all where you are from, where you are joining us from today. I see someone from the Philippines. Hi to the Philippines. Please tell everyone where you're from. Say hi. I am from Vietnam. I am from Russia. Tell everyone where you're from. I see Indonesia. I see India, Azerbaijan. Welcome. Well, I am Daryl. Welcome to our latest Cambly live session. To those of you that are returning, thank you. To those of you that are here for the first time, another big welcome. To those of you that don't know, Cambly is a one-on-one platform where you can get lessons in English in a variety of different tasks and different things like IELTS or vocabulary or grammar, whatever your goals and needs are. And today, we are going to be looking at the reading section of the IELTS exam. IELTS is an English proficiency exam that many universities and many businesses require when they take on a non-native speaker. And the reading section can cause a lot of difficulty. So what we're going to do today is we are going to go through a lot to do with the reading section. We're going to break down what is inside the reading section itself. We're going to talk about time management and a lot to do in a general sense. Then we're going to go through some very important reading techniques. Obviously, one thing that causes a lot of concern is the ability to read quickly. So we're going to cover a lot of those techniques. And then we're going to look at some exam techniques just for the reading section. We're going to cover what to look for in questions. We're going to cover typical mistakes that can cost you a grade or a band for no reason. After that, I'm going to take all of this off, and we are going to do an important technique for one of the most difficult parts of the reading section, which is the matching headings. So we're going to look at a very simple technique that can make this a lot easier. And finally, at the end, so please stick around, I'm going to give you a special discount code that you can use at Cambly to get, I think, up to 26% off of an annual plan. So stick around for that. So let us start. Now, firstly, the reading section itself is composed of 3 different sections. And as a general rule, the sections get more and more difficult as you read. Now, you may be doing a general IELTS or an academic IELTS. The same thing applies. As you go through the sections, they are going to get more and more difficult. The grammar will be more tricky and complex. The words will be bigger. So what you need to do is not divide it up, your hour, into 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes. The first thing you need to realize is that you have to spend less time on section 1 and more time on section 3. That's your first important thing for time management. Now, there are other things that you must bear in mind for time management. Remember, you have 40 questions that you have to get through in an hour. So at the most, if we were looking at it from a mathematical point of view, you have a minute and a half that you can spend. So one thing you must realize, don't spend too much time on any one question. Don't sit there trying to get this one question to make sense. If you are not confident about it very quickly, make a note, get onto the things that are easy for you, the stuff that you know is correct, and then come back to those harder questions at the end. So that's a very, very important technique. Don't make yourself crazy by trying to get every single answer correct. Focus on the ones that are going to be easy for you and then come back to the harder ones. Also, remember if you are doing the paper-based exam, you have to have time to transfer your answers. So you may be working in rough, you may be working and thinking and crossing out and doing lots of stuff. You have to leave at least a few minutes to transfer your answers. It would be terrible if you had everything correct but no time to transfer your answers. What I suggest you do is, as you finish each section, transfer your answers if you're doing the paper-based exam. That works for some people. You can also do the computer-based exam. That's going to be easier for filling in answers. But don't forget, you have to leave yourself time for that. So that is IELTS in a general sense. The 3 different sections, the 40 questions. Don't spend too much time on each one. Then let's move on to reading quickly. The tips and techniques for reading quickly. Now, one thing I have to say is I don't think you should read everything very, very carefully, because that can take a lot of time. What I think you should do, if you like to read first, is to highlight unique words. So as you're reading, as you're skimming quickly, highlight unique words. What are unique words? Unique words are things like names, places, dates, times, numbers, quotes, anything strange, any strange word, if they are describing an animal or a company or a type of clothes, anything strange and unique, you want to highlight it. The chances are those are what are going to be in the questions. If you are doing the computer-based exam, remember you can highlight as well. It is a function. You click and you highlight. I think, if I remember, you can even highlight in different colors. So don't forget, whether it's paper-based or computer-based, highlight the unique words. Do the same thing for the questions. Highlight the unique words. If they ask a date, if they give a name, highlight it so you can see the question and the answer and the text and compare. That's going to help you read very quickly because you're just looking for the unique things. Tip number 2, read topic sentences. What is a topic sentence? For the academic IELTS, for the types of texts that you're going to have, the topic sentence will be the first sentence in the paragraph, usually. That will tell you what the paragraph is about. So if you can't read every single paragraph word for word, at least you will understand what the whole reading is about by looking at the topic sentence, the first sentence. That, again, will help you speed up your ability to go through all the text. Tip number 3, do not reread too much. This is a common mistake that people make. They want to understand everything, and if there's one sentence or one paragraph that they are struggling with, they'll stay there and they'll try to figure out what it's saying. But that is wasting your time. If you don't understand it after a minute, you have to move on, because you are wasting the time for those 40 questions. So don't reread too much. If you have time at the end, when you've done all the questions you are confident about, then you can come back and try again. The next important tip, do not pronounce words in your head. Again, this is a common trap. You are reading and you're trying to make sense of everything. So in your head, you are trying to pronounce everything correctly. But again, this is slowing you down, because to pronounce everything correctly, you have to use a different part of the brain. You have to speak in your voice, in your head, and that is slowing you down a lot. So push that aside. Don't pronounce in your head as you go. And the final tip for reading quickly is to do practice tests like you are in an exam. So there are resources online, there are books, there are all kinds of things where you can find practiced reading tests. Time yourself. Use our time management technique like the exam. Force yourself to feel the pressure of that time, and that will actually make you read faster because it's a skill. So that is very, very important. You can also read other things, articles online, English books. Read anything and focus on timing yourself so that you know, I'm getting better, I'm learning the reading skill. One other thing that this does, practicing the tests, is it can show you what your weak points are. Perhaps your weak points is spelling. Perhaps your weak point is the yes, no, not given questions. Once you've done it in an exam condition and you know what your weakness is, you can focus on that weakness and make it better. So those are all our reading quickly tips. And then let's look at the other exam techniques. These are only for the reading part of the exam. These are about how to handle questions and are not just about reading quickly. So let's take a look. I prefer for my students to read questions first. Why? This will give you an idea of what to look for in the text. So again, you're highlighting the unique words in the questions. You know, I'm looking for this date. I'm looking for this name. I'm looking for what happened to this company. So by reading the questions first, you already know what you're looking for when you get to the text. Now, I will say that this does not work for everybody. So if you find that difficult and it doesn't work for you, give it a shot using your practice tests and see. Find what works for you. So that is number one. Number two, very, very important. In fact, I should put this in red. I'm going to put a red circle around this one because this, three big arrows, this is one of the most common mistakes that people make when doing the IELTS reading. You have to remember that the words are not going to be the same in the questions and the text. So you must focus on the same meaning, not the same words. That is very, very important. I will give you an example of the same meaning, but different words. So we could have in the text, it could say, let me put it over here, expensive. So that would be the word in the text, expensive. In the question, perhaps they say costs more. Now, it's basically the same meaning. Expensive and costs more are the same thing. But if you think that the keyword cost is what you are looking for, you're going to be looking for the wrong thing. So you cannot look for the same words. You have to focus on the same meaning. Also, this is important because you may actually see the same words in the text, but that does not mean that the answer is yes. Those words could actually have other elements in the sentence that now make them incorrect. So you have to focus on meaning, not the words. Now, how can you do that? I've written down over here that what you skim and scan for are keywords and synonyms. Another arrow here, synonyms. A synonym is like this. It's got the same meaning, but it's a different word. So when you are skimming and scanning, which means you are quickly going through the text, highlighting your unique words, you are not just looking for the keywords. You are looking also for synonyms of those keywords. You're not looking for expensive, you're also looking for things about costs. You're looking for things that may say cheap or not cheap. So those are all the things you have to look for when you skim and you scan the text based on the question. The next tip, also such a common error that people make. Read the instructions carefully. If it says 3 words or less, do not give 4 words. It is such a common mistake that people make. So, for example, if the word is the dog's house, those are your 3 words, not the house of the dog, which is 5 words. And people often ask, do the thes and the ands and the ofs count? All the words count. So read the instructions carefully. If it's 3 words or less, give 3 words or less. Don't give more thinking, I'm close. They're not going to count this. It's going to cost you marks for no reason. Another example that could be for this, if they ask you for a number, give a number. Read the instructions very carefully. Don't think you know what they want. Read and make sure. Another very important tip, grammar and spelling. And you're working with the text where the answers are spelled out, where they're there already. Make sure your spelling is correct. If it's wrong, you're not going to get the mark. It's just that simple. They're not going to take pity on you. Other things to remember for grammar that are such simple mistakes. Plurals. If you have to use the S to make a plural, it's right. If you leave out the S, it's wrong. It's that simple. Hyphens. If you leave out the hyphen, it's going to be wrong. It's unfortunate, but that's it. So these small, simple things can cost you grades and bands. So make sure you focus on them. So there we go. We've looked at our time management. We've looked at important tips for reading quickly to get through everything. We've looked at important techniques to make sure we focus on the right things in the text and some common mistakes and errors. And now what we are going to do is a very simple technique for matching headings. I'm just going to take all this off the board. All right. Now, matching headings. What does it mean? I'm sure you've seen it before. If this is your first time with IELTS reading, then what it means is you are given a series of paragraphs in the text. And usually they're labeled, for instance, A, B, and C. And then so that is the text. Then in the question, you are given a series of headings. You're given many different headings, usually labeled with Roman numerals. And what you are supposed to do is match the headings with the paragraphs. And this is a common problem because what people do is that they look at what this says, they try to match it, and then as they go through the paragraphs, they say, no, this one can't be that. So they cross it out and they say, no, that's not this one. Which one is it? And they waste a lot of time because they are negotiating with themselves, trying to match up different things, and it becomes very frustrating. Now, the technique that I suggest you do, before you even look at the headings, I want you to go to the paragraphs, read them carefully. So that is step number 1, read carefully. So here you are not skimming and scanning. because you have to match up the headings correctly. So you read these paragraphs carefully. And step number 2, identify words that are unique. Identify words that are different, that could have synonyms. And based on that, you make your own headings. So you haven't even looked at the headings yet. You are making your own headings. You based it on what you understand from reading carefully in the paragraphs. Then, step number 3, look at the headings and match them up. You will be very surprised how close and similar your headings will be to the headings that are there already. It will save you so much time and so much negotiation and so much frustration because you're not looking at this first. So let me go through those 3 one more time. I don't want you to look at the headings. You look at the paragraphs. You read carefully. You make sure you know what those paragraphs are actually saying. And then you make your own headings based on the information in there. And finally, you look at the headings in the question and you match them up. It will be much, much easier for you. So I hope that technique will help you. I'm just going to take a look at the chat to see if there's anything we can help people with. If you have any questions, send them to us. Just going to see. I see people are watching and enjoying. That's very, very good. All right. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you that discount code so that you can go now, get up to 26% off on an annual plan. Remember, there are many different parts of the IELTS exam. There are also many different types of exams that are similar to IELTS, like the TOEFL. There are also many different things that you might want to work on with your English. It could be a vocabulary expansion, grammar, anything. And we at Cambly, tutors like me, are here to help you with whatever your needs are. So please take a look. And here, let me wipe this all off. Here is the discount code. Very simple. It is the word reading. So go now. Ooh, I don't know if that came out so well. Let me use the black. So it is the word reading. Go now to Cambly, take a look, see if you like it. And if you want to learn more with me on Cambly, please check out the link in the description. We can do anything you need: IELTS, grammar, conversation practice, business English, whatever you need. And I think for now, I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you so much for joining us here on Cambly Live. We hope to see you again very, very soon. Until then, stay safe, and we'll see you in a classroom very soon. Bye for now.